Hello masters, today I'm going to show you how to create some nice motion graphic effects in Unreal Engine with our blueprint Transform Effector, and we will go through all its functionality. So create new level, and we will use Megascans asset to create our scene. So the scene, so let's create some nice looking effects. Drag and drop our blueprint here in the Transform Effector and blueprints. And now I will tell you something about the values in details panel. So what we have to do to work with our scene is to take actors we want to affect. So select them all, right, tag here, and you will find out it's empty. So here in actor, not in a text, it doesn't work if you create a tag here. Be careful. Anytime create the actor here, the tag here, actor advanced tags, hidden plus, and type tag what you want, for example motion. Okay, then click on the blueprint, and here you can see here is the definition of the tag. So here just type motion. Let's see if it's working. I just click on the simulate button. Yes, it's working. I will go through the all values. I just click inverted location to invert the positions of object. Our blueprint is based on distance between blueprint and tagged actors, and it transforms them by these values, the location, rotation, and scale. And I will show you how to work with them. First value is on and off. Basically, it's turning on and off the effect. If I hit simulate to see the results, it's affecting. If I hit off, it's not affecting. This button on and off is really is similar to pause simulation, but there is a big difference. And if you turn off the effect, all the actors turn back to default positions. And if I use the pause simulation, it doesn't work, but the objects keep their location, and you can edit the values of objects. Let's check what happens if I unpause and want to move with object. It doesn't work because the effector says set transform of this object to this one. So if you want to change it, the effector transform it. But if I hit pause, you can transform it and animate as you want. Okay, so that's the difference between on and off and pause. Then we got our distance minimum and maximum. All effects are made between these two values. The minimum distance is the red sphere and the maximum distance is the blue sphere. So now all the default position is inside of this sphere, and the final transformation is in the edge of the big sphere. Let's change the values to see the results. You see here it's scaled 0, so you can see the mesh, and here inside of the small sphere you see the default transformation. If you make the distance minimum bigger than distance maximum, there is no animation, it's just appearing the objects or disappearing. That's because the transformation is between these two values, but there is the negative value between them because the minimum is bigger than maximum, so it's just hiding them. But it works only with the turn on scale. You have a few tabs here: location, rotation, and scale. The values inside are similar. So the first button just turning on and off the effect. So now we are transforming the location. I can turn it off, and it works like the pause. You see, it's just animating the rotation and scale, but not the location. If I turn it on, it's animating also the location. You see that if I pause it here, it's not going back to the default position, so it's better to turn it off before you start simulation. Okay, for now turn it on. And how does it work? We get this value and it's mapping the distances. So it says I want to transform on location by 500 centimeters, and here are the axes, and you multiply the movement on the axis. So it's only multiplied by 1 in z-axis. It means move the objects on z-axis by 500 units. If I change the value, you see it's transforming more. You can also change the multiplier to see the same result. And if I want to transform in another way, I just add values here. You can just multiply also with the negative numbers to change the direction of movement. We got the invert location. I'm going to show you how to invert works. Just stop the simulation, and we get here in the maps, we got the distance field explanation. Just save our map, and here you can see the difference between the invert toggled true and invert toggled false. Just hit simulation, and you see that if the invert is true, all the default transformation is inside of the minimum distance sphere, and if the invert is false, all the default transformation is outside of the maximum distance. So basically that's the difference between invert and non-invert effect. Okay, so let's go back to our map and let's see what does the random position do. The random, if you click on random, it's randomly picking the meshes and multiply the axis by -1. It means if you move the objects, the random selection is going in different direction. So in this case, they are going up and down. If I turn it off, they are just going up. You see? That's the difference. We can play with it. So for example, multiply only the x, and it's creating some building effect from the sides. Just turn off the rotation and scale. So if I hit simulate, it's moving only, it's transforming only the location. Now let's look at the rotation. Rotation is really similar. You just turn it on, and you see we got here we just rotate the elements around their pivot. You can multiply the values to set up the final rotation, minimum rotation, and you can multiply the movement by axis and turn on and off the random direction. And the final one is we want to scale them. Just turn off rotation and turn on scale. And you see it's just scaling the actor, and you can play with the minimum scale and maximum scale. That's all. And here you can see the collection values. You don't edit these values. It means it collected 70 arrays, 70 objects we tagged, and stores all the default information. All default information about transform. So you don't touch it, but you see the positions, locations, rotations of the objects, And so only when you edit this value is if you want to keep changes of the simulation. For example, let's try the effect which fits the best way for us. So I will turn on everything. I will turn on invert everything everywhere, and just play a bit with the values. Yeah, for example this one. And I also change the minimum and maximum distance. So we get this effect. If I hit stop, all the changes are not saved. To save it, just right click on the blueprint and here keep simulation changes. There is also shortcut key on your keyboard. You see it saved everything. Now if I hit stop, all the values I changed are saved. So that's how you can store your values, but be careful. If we store our values, it also store the arrays here. If you don't change the scene, everything works properly, but if you add more objects, it can cause some problems. So I would recommend you to, after the keep simulation changes, just remove all the elements. And now everything works properly. So that's how to use keep simulation changes. And you can also keep simulation changes on the transformed object. But be careful, you cannot redo this. Let's see how it works. I select all the objects and click on them, right click and keep simulation changes. Boom, you see saved for 70 actors. Now if I click stop, you see all the actors are saved in their transform, what we made with the blueprint. But if I click on simulation again, the starting point of transform is at their new transform, their new location, new rotation, the simulated one. So now just, yes, you can redo by Ctrl Z, but be careful. So that's how you can store the changes in Blueprint and also on the transformed objects. Blueprint works also with the grouped actors. So I just select few objects, right click and group them. And now if I duplicate the groups and hit simulate, you see that it's working. It's working nicely as with separates element. It also works if you convert the objects to blueprint. So let me just ungroup this one, and here convert selection to blueprint class, and just call it BP wall, and boom, so we got it. And here you have to select all the meshes and set them to static. If you don't set them to static, there will be some errors. And if you want to change the tag of the objects, you don't tag this actor, this empty actor. You see it's empty. You have to tag the elements out under it. So click on them and you tag them here. You see we get the motion. So let's check it, we can duplicate it. And you see it's working properly also with the blueprint class elements. We can combine more Transform Effector blueprints. So I will just use this one what I have in the scene. I will turn on the location and also the scale. I will duplicate it by Alt and move with this. And here I will turn off the rotation and turn on the scale. So this one is changing the scale, and this one is changing the rotation with the same tag. So we can combine these effects. If I copy and I would like to transform location with the third one. Be careful when you use more effectors. Just be sure that you use one effector to one transform. For example, this one for location, the second one for rotation, and the last one for scale. Do not use two effectors for location, or do not make the same thing two times. So we got this one for location only, second one for scale only, and the first one is for rotation only. You see it's working properly. I will create empty actor and I will call it main controller, and I will attach these blueprints under the main controller just for now. If I click on it, I will rotate with them so we will see all the three effects at once. Let's see how does it work if we use multiple tags. Okay, let's clear up the scene. So we will just delete all the blueprints, and I will create a folder for this experiment. So we get this array of elements, create folder. Okay, select the actors, type tag, and we get multiple values. I will clear it up. And what we want to try is to use one transform effector which is controlling all the other assets here with the tag motion, and we will turn off the location, so it's controlling only the rotation and scale. It looks like this, and it is not affected these actors because these actors have no tag yet, and we add another tag control, and we will use another effector, for example, okay, this one with control. Let's see what's happened. So this one is transforming our line, and the second one is transforming the other objects. Okay, so because we have two effectors and two tags. And what if I add, here I'm using the tag motion and here I'm using tag control. Be sure that I want to control the location of these objects, and I will turn off the rotation and scale. And here I will turn off the location and turn on rotation and scale. Let's add another tag to our objects, tag, and add tag motion, the tag we use in the second blueprint. Let's see what's happened. The first one is controlling the location, and the second one is controlling their motion, rotation. So you can combine two effectors to control one group of objects. Nice. So let's jump to another scene. I prepared this map. It's just Megascan assets, and I created this bridge from them. I'm using a few beams and few Megascans plants. You know, it's all a separate element in folder bridge. I just select them all and gave them a tag control. You see, tag control. And then I get a blueprint attached to our third person controller. So let's see how it looks like. If I hit play, I can control the character, and if I run near the scene, you see the nice building animation and also the disappearing of all objects. If you want to create some similar scene, let's see how to do it. At first, Megascans asset do not have the collision set up, so just click on it, Control B to find the asset, double click and generate some collisions. I use the box simplified collisions here, and yeah, this one. So because of the, thanks to collision, we can interact and we can walk on them. After the generating simulations, I will show you how to do it. So let's find the third person blueprint and drop your third person character into your scene. Now if I hit play, I appear on the place where is my camera. So to start on the position of your player, just here in the search panel type play, and you see the auto pose player, disable, set it to player 1. Now if I hit play, you see I'm starting with my character. And to create the animation, just use our blueprint, Transform Effector, drop it into the scene and attach it under our player. Just set it to 0, 0, 0 and invert location, and just turn off the helpers visible in game. If I click G to see the game mode, it looks like it's not visible in the game. Now just click the play, and voila, we got our animation transform effect in just few seconds. So only what I have to do is to take our actors, attach the blueprint to our player, and set that our player should be auto-posed. Okay, and what if you want to create effect that I just run on the bridge? In this position, it pauses the simulation, so the bridge is not disappearing again. So let me show you how to access the blueprint data with another blueprint. So create the blueprint which we want to use to control our blueprint transform effector. So right click, blueprint, actor, BP, control. Just drag and drop it to the scene and double click to open the blueprint. We want to create collision, box collision, and we will create box collision, and when our player interact with this collision, it will pause the effector. So let's see how to do it. Okay, we get the box here, event graph. Right click on box, add event, and on component begin overlap. And we just want to say cast to BPT effector. We want to create new variable which is called Transform Effector. Here change it to BPT Transform Effector object reference. and click here to make it visible and editable. Compile and put our transform effector here to object. Basically it means that this blueprint should know which transform effector is casting to. Now it's set to none, so be sure you select the transform effector which is in our scene. Okay, so that's it. Open it, blueprint, and now, so this means when we overlap the box, let's go to transform effector, and we want to set the pause the simulation. So set pause, and here we see in the class blueprint transform effector set pause simulation, and we will set the simulation to yes, to true. Connect this one, compile, save, and just write a print string, and we hit pause. Okay, so give it here in the middle of the bridge, because when we stay in the middle of the bridge, the whole building effects is done for 100%. And let's see if it's work. Let's go. Boom, you see in the left corner pause, so the effect just paused, and you see that the whole effect wasn't built on 100%, so we should make bigger our distance minimum. Let's see, if we want to build every object here, so every object should be in the smaller sphere in the distance minimum, like this one. Okay, we can give it back, and simulation, pause, and we got it. You see, so we paused the transform effector and the bridge is in its right position. If I'm running again and again, you see there is a pause all the time blinking, so we can just make a small change here. Just open our blueprint and add boolean cost paused, change it to boolean, compile, save, and we create here a branch, and we ask, is it already paused? If it's not paused, continue the script. If it's paused, do nothing. So if it's not paused, we go here and we pause it. So we should set the paused to it's already paused. So I'm using this, and if you see the pause in the left corner, and if I go there again, it's doing nothing because we use branch to do not do the same thing again. So it works properly now. So this is how you could how you can access the Transform Effector blueprint with any other blueprint. And the last thing, let me show you how to work with sequencer. I will delete my character. We will use the same blueprint and check if it's working. It's simulation, and we see it's working. Okay, so I will turn on the helpers visible in game for better controlling, but before render I will turn it off. Let's create animation level sequencer. In Unreal Engine 5.1 you will find it. Here is sequencer, here is cinematic, and then there is a level sequencer. Okay, let's type ls level sequencer bridge. Double click, drag and drop our camera. 10-second animation. If you don't see this, this panel, drag here, and the cinematic viewport, and the Transform Effector, and just click Simulate. And we can start animating. Here you can see the plus, so this is creating the keyframes, and for example, we can animate the location. So, okay, let's, this is our camera. Okay, set it here. I click S to set the keyframe. Then I go out from camera, and let's say in the beginning, I hit simulation. In the beginning, we want our blueprint somewhere here. It's not affected the scene. Click S, and after 5 seconds, it built a bridge. So play, and we see the result of the animation real time. And we can also play with the values here. So let's change, for example, this, and we can animate the location, the direction of location, and also the rotation and direction of rotation. So I created the several keyframes here, and now I will edit the values. So we can change the value of the minimum distance and maximum distance, then put it back, like this one, move with the blueprint, and change some multiplication of movement. Don't forget to add keyframe anytime you change it, or you can change the values here and it creates the keyframe automatically. Yeah, and we can also play with the scale a bit. So minimum scale, maximum scale. So it's looking nice. Oh, it's a bit crazy, but you can play more with it to see the nice results you want to. I will animate the camera. So let's go here. Okay. Oh, it's really wild animation. And in the end, just set it to disappear with scale. It's to 0 and 0. Oh, this should be here, and this should be here. Okay, the middle part is a little bit crazy, but you know now how it's working. And we are all the time in simulation. When I hit stop, all the values here are saved. I would adjust the environment. For example, the fog should maybe disable the fog at all. Okay, turn it off. Let's see the result. Yeah, I forgot to turn off the blueprint helpers. So helpers visible in game, turn off. And hit play. Oh, 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 oh. So you get this really wild animation. Yeah, the movement of camera is not good at all. But you get the idea how to create your custom animations. And if you, for example, say, hey, I just want to move with this element, it's not possible because the location is transformed by the blueprint, so you cannot change it. But if you, okay, let's say in the end, we will move with the objects in the end. So I just click on the effector, the blueprint, and I will animate the pause. So after my animation is done, I can pause it. And it means it's not affected the scene anymore. So you can now select, for example, this object and move with it. So you can animate it. For example, I click S to add a keyframe and I manually animate it. Now you have idea how to use the pause simulation. It just stop the simulation and you can transform and animate your target objects as you want to. Okay, let me change the camera a bit because it's really messy. As you can see, the middle part is really not looking good. It's totally chaos. Okay, so we go through, we fly, we build, we make chaos, and we finish. Okay, it's a little bit better, but it would need few more touches to look good. But now you have an idea how to use Transform Effector in Sequencer. I hope it helps to you, and let me know in comments if you have some questions or requests for another tutorials, and see you!